morning, friends and family. I hope you guys all had a wonderful evening last night. The Aurora Borealis was an amazing show and we stayed up a little too late, but so worth it. So this morning I'm going to give you a little tour around the yard and gardens and kind of give you a rough idea of my vision for this space and some of my future projects. So without any further ado, let's get on with it. So the first thing you'll notice when you come down my driveway is the view of Mount Si. We have an amazing piece of property with this giant green belt in front of us, and the mountain is just center stage here. Then we have this long green expanse that is technically part of the city street. The street now ends in front of my house, but it used to go all the way through. And they came through about 2 years ago, the gas company, and cleared that out because the gas line runs through there. And so I maintain that, I mow it, and people use it for walking their dogs to the dog park and just a cut through for the neighborhood. Then we have our front area, and this is an area that is got me a little bit stymied. I still haven't decided what I want to do with this. I don't like all this grass, and I don't like the way that it slopes down, because when I'm mowing it, it's quite steep. So it has a bit of a slope, but I'm trying to figure out if I want to do a retaining wall. I don't know. Then we have my little central garden that I planted about 3 years ago, I think. And I've got a few nice things in here. I've got some creeping phlox. I've got some columbine coming up, and I've got lamb's ear. And you're going to see that this is a theme that runs through my garden. I love lamb's ear. I love the silver touch. And I also like using the same plants in several areas just for cohesiveness. And that's my rosemary plant, and it is just blooming like crazy. And we have a little bit of bearberry down here. Spreads out nicely. It's a good ground cover. And then over here, on this side, we've got some more lamb's ear. And this lime green barberry that I just fell in love with. And it looks so fabulous in the spring. Unfortunately, it does not take the heat well, and by midsummer it looks a little scorched and tired, but we love it and appreciate it while it looks like this. And then I've got lots of ajuga around my yard. It's another one that I like to have sprinkled throughout the whole garden, and it just makes the most beautiful purple accent that goes so well with the chartreuse of this barberry. I have a very sad little cherry tree that when I first put it in 2 years ago, the deer ate almost all the way down. And so I just kind of got it limping back to life, and I continuously come out here with the deer spray and try to ward off the deer. If they eat it again, I'll probably just give up on it. This is one of my native plants. This is a flowering currant, and this was just a tiny little 12 to 16 inch plant 3 years ago when I put it in, and I have to prune it back every year. It gets rather large, but I love the little flowers that it has on it. They're actually edible, and you can use them to make tea, and then when the flowers are spent, it makes little currant berries that you can eat. I don't like them, but you can eat them. And there's some more of my barberry and ajuga and lamb's ear. This is my Miss Kim lilac, and I bought that because my sister's name is Kim, and it's a Korean lilac, and it's kind of funny. It bloomed when I first got it. It was about 2 feet tall. It's grown and grown, but this is the first year that we actually have some flowers on it. And they're not really as aromatic as your regular lilac, but hopefully next year we'll get a few more blooms. We have some more of our comfrey here and some little ferns that pop up. This plant underneath my maple tree is, oh gosh, it's Jupiter plant, and it really kind of spreads. I started with one plant, and now a couple years later we're winding around to this side, and they have really pretty pink flower spikes, and they turn into seeds that look kind of like dandelions, so that's why they spread so easily. They blow around the garden. This Japanese maple I got when I was married to my first husband, and we kept it on the deck in a little pot. So for years I kept it in a pot, and when we moved here 5 years ago, it was a very small maple, and it got put in the ground, and it loves this spot. It's just gorgeous every year. And it looks like it's another year where we've got seed, so I may try to start some of those seeds and get some more maples out of that. We have lots of black-eyed Susan coming up. That's primarily what I have in this front garden. I like the yellow and oranges in the summertime. We have a euphorbia. This is a baby from the one in my backyard that you're going to see, and I like euphorbia. Some people don't. It's also called spurge. This is the euphorbia wolfii, and it's just so beautiful, and it keeps these blooms for half of the summer. I have lots of geranium around, and this is hardy geranium. What I like about it, it has beautiful little purple flowers, and it can be divided very easily and moved around the garden. That's some garden art that my very good friend Sally gave me. And here's my bleeding heart. She's looking very pretty this year. The dwarf spruce I moved from the backyard to here because I had red hot poker lilies in this whole area, and for some reason this year with that freeze that we had, that freezing rain, they died in this spot. So there's none left. I dug them out and moved this from the back so we can go with a bit of a different look here. I've got, these are little bulbs. I'm trying to remember the technical name, but Lucifer is what people call them, and they're just a beautiful plant that gets really tall and has orange flowers. I have my clematis that is growing up the shepherd hook that I got from Sally and her little garden art watering can she made, and I can't wait to see how it covers that can, if it covers a can. I've got creeping Jenny everywhere. This is another one that is a common theme throughout my gardens. I like it as a ground cover. It can be a bit of a thug, so you've got to really stay on it, like it's trying to take over the geranium, and it will squash out their growth. So, and it does the same thing with my heather. I have to pull it out of there or it'll kill it. But here's some more ferns, and heuchera. Heuchera is another one that's one of my favorites, but it's also one of the deer's favorites, so that's something that gets sprayed quite often. And my lavender plant came back this year and looks like it's going to do really well. I cannot remember what that plant is, and quite honestly, it never blooms. So if it doesn't bloom this year, it's getting yanked out. Got some more heuchera. I had a really nice big patch of daisies here for almost the whole time we've lived here, and for some reason it did not fare well in the winter either. So we're gonna just wait and see what happens. I might have to put something else in there. I've got some more heather, and then this little miniature spruce was in a pot over in the corner of the house. And we're going to start over here on the side yard. We're going to move into the shade garden. This little dogwood is a gift from the woman I bought the house from. Thank you very much, Fern. And it's from her house. It's a seedling, and it's probably tripled in size since she gave it to me. They're not a fast grower, but eventually it'll become a nice dogwood tree. This is Indian plum. This is a native plant, and I actually pulled this up from a little walk I went on and brought it home and potted it up, and it took. This is a primrose variety. They look like little pom-poms, but the flowers are spent. This is a red twig dogwood. This is also a native, and I propagated this from some old wood cuttings from one down the street and put it in a pot, and it rooted and took hold. So we'll have a beautiful redwood dogwood right there. This is a hydrangea I got from my friend Sally, and I had it in a pot, which is why there's creeping Jenny so tight to the bottom of it. And it seems to be doing pretty well. I put it in the ground last year. Unfortunately, this is something we battle quite a bit over in this area. This is wild cucumber. And as you can see, the roots are crazy, and they can go so deep in the ground you'll never get them out. So we just pull them when we see them. This is a cousin to heuchera, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but this is a native plant that shows up here. We also have a lot of morning glory that I battle in this area. I'm always pulling it up in these little suckers from this plum tree. This plum tree is something that we had to cut a lot of shoots from that were around the bottom, so it was like a whole clump of trees. And then I wanted to keep this because I like the structure of it. We still debate whether or not we're going to cut it. I think eventually we're probably just going to take most of the bulk of it out and leave the two up against the fence. But I don't know, I just like it. Okay, so now we're going to move into the shade garden. And up against the house, I can't remember what this little shrub is, but the deer were just devastating it when I had it out by the road. So I moved it here, and hopefully it's going to survive. There's another hydrangea that my friend Sally gave me. I took it out of its pot and put it right there last year, and it's happy as can be. Over here we have my hostas that, again, are a gift from the woman I bought the house from. And I have my hellebores, which I love. They start blooming in January and give me color for quite a while. I've got more heuchera, lots of little plum suckers, more hostas, the lamium that I planted yesterday. I put it in 2 spots. I've got some lungwort. I love lungwort. It's so pretty. Pulmonaria is the technical name. And then my other hellebore. So and the lambs there. This little shade garden area is coming along, but it'll take a while for it to fill in. I've got some more hydrangeas and hostas and hydrangeas and hostas. And this is a butterfly bush that my friend Sally gave me. Her name, I think, if I remember correctly, is Marissa. So she has a name. And she gets very tall and puts out the most beautiful purple spikes. Along this wall, we have our garbage and compost area. And then this tree that's coming back, I cut to the ground last year. When we moved in, it wasn't there, and it showed up, and within a year, it was as tall as the house. I don't know what it is. I've researched it. There's a couple different types of trees it could be, but I actually like it, and hopefully later in the summer I can show you what it looks like when it gets big, because it grows very quickly. This hydrangea, I think, is probably going to be taken out of the pot and put in the ground somewhere. It seems to struggle, so I think the roots need to stretch out a bit more. I've got lots of little succulents down here on this side, and I've got my 2 hydrangeas. They have a white flower, and I haven't pruned them back yet. I'm waiting to see how much of this, what appears to be dead wood, actually sprouts, because it's a little early yet. They might get some buds. We have a curly willow that I got from Sally. More creeping phlox, and I've got this, I can't remember the name of it. I just put it in. It's for a hedge plant because eventually I want to create privacy on this corner of the yard because there was not much division before between us and the neighbors. and my snowball viburnum that I just put in. One of my projects for this weekend is I need to get some cardboard out here because I put a thick layer of mulch down, but I didn't put cardboard down right here, and you can see where everything's trying to grow back. This is my vegetable garden, and I have a privet hedge along this side. I planted some morning glories. They're a non-invasive variety, and they're purple and pink there, so hopefully they pop up. But we have grow bags with all kinds of things. I can't remember what I planted in this. We've got summer squash seeds in that, peas in that one. These are my strawberries. I've got Swiss chard in that one, beetroot in that. We've got some yams planted in here waiting to come up, and some spinach, and a couple of garlic that I must have forgot to pull last year. And we've got zinnias in that. Nothing's really coming up yet in here because I've just been seeding over the last week. I've got spinach in that one. My asparagus, I ate a bunch of it and then I just allowed it to go to fern so that it will get some strength down there in that crown. And then we've got radishes, turnips, and one calendula from last year that's self-seeded. And we're gonna leave it in there. And then in this one, we've got this year's garlic harvest that I will harvest in July. And then I've got kale, but this morning I noticed a carrot. So didn't plant it, don't know where it came from. We'll see if it shows up. And on this one, the deer knocked down, and so it's held together kind of roughly, but once it's covered with morning glory, it should be really pretty. I don't have anything in these either. I don't know what I'm putting in them yet. But this is my garden area and the look down that side yard. And then I created a door here in the hedge. This is a Leyland cypress hedge, and I planted this 4 years ago, and let me tell you, they grow and you have to stay on top of them. They need a twice a year trimming, but they will get very thick, and eventually most of these fronds will be gone and it'll be just a really thick hedge. Sorry. So this is walking into the backyard from there, and these are my perennial beds. And I have, again, my usual theme of chartreuse, purples, my silvery lamb ears. I have 2 blueberry plants that I took out of their cages, and we're gonna see if the deer can leave them alone this year. They ate them down to the ground the first year I had them. This is a spirea, bridal wreath spirea, and I had this in a pot when we moved here, put it in the ground, and it's been here since. I've got all kinds of fun little plants in here. Little miniature pines. I've got a different type of euphorbia. I can't remember the name of that one, but I like the variegation in the leaves. And then some of my mint. It's a chocolate mint. I have my autumn joy sedum, which is one of my favorites. It looks beautiful now, but when it gets its blooms, it's just gorgeous, and it creates beautiful structure in the winter too if you just leave the blooms. We have a yew and some more geranium. This dogwood right here is actually a baby from this dogwood. I found it under the deck, and I pulled it out of the ground and put it in right there, and it looks like we're gonna have a tree. It'll probably be about 10 years before it's a decent size, but it'll be nice. There's some more red hot pokers that actually survived the winter. I lost quite a few. Got some arborvitae. Not sure if I'm gonna keep them. The deer like to snack on them, so I have to stay on top of the spray. Okay, so coming around this way, you'll notice that the backyard is in a circular pattern with a fire pit and 2 Adirondacks in the center. And then we have my apple trees, which I chopped into this year quite a bit, but I wanted to change them into kind of a cup shape form. So next year they'll look better. And then we have the parking area in the back that we never use, but when we moved in it was just a mud hole. So I put some gravel out here and cleaned it up, and I've got a couple of nice pots. And that's the view into the backyard. I can't remember the name of this bush, but it turns so beautiful in the fall. It turns bright red. We have a zebra grass that doesn't have any stripes right now, but it will. I've got, I'm trying to remember what that is. Oh, it's a salvia. No, it's a veronica. That one's a veronica. This one is the salvia. I like veronicas and salvias. The butterflies like them, the bees like them. We've got daisies flanking each side also. Those get really tall. Creeping Jenny in these two pots. And then we have my pond area. And right now, it looks like the duck foil is starting to grow back in there. And the one water plant I have, which has sent out runners and is just popping up all over the place. So by midsummer, you probably won't be able to even see the water. And some red hot pokers I put in the back. Now this plant is quite controversial. This is a invasive species here, and it's called tansy. And it's kind of a weed, but I like it. A friend of mine gave me a start, and I keep it contained right here because it can spread. But it's really pretty, I think, so I keep it. One of my other Japanese maples. My ajuga is running a little bit wild. And I can't remember what this plant is called all of a sudden, but I have two of them and they have little pink flowers. That happens sometimes when I'm trying to tell people things. It just goes out of my mind. I know the name of it, but it's not there right now. And this area was new year before last, and we haven't really filled it in too much, but all of this lamb's ear right here self-propagated. I did not plant it. It came from that plant. So I love my lamb's ear. I'm going to keep it. I've got some strawberries that I transplanted from the strawberry area to help maybe feed the birds here, so they'll leave those alone, although they don't bother them too much. I've got gladiolas in this pot. I've got one coming up for now. There should be more. I've got my perennial bachelor buttons, and then in the very back here, some more comfrey, and it looks like it's getting ready to bloom. I've got another Euphorbia wolfii that is a baby from the large one I'm going to show you here in a little bit. And this is tickweed. I love tickweed. It's coreopsis. It's beautiful. And some of my hardy geraniums starting to bloom. Some more autumn joycetum. These are very tall grass that lend a real nice bit of structure back here. I planted sunflowers again up against the fence. Got some more ajuga. I've got some lilies that I got from a friend, and I can't remember what variety they are, but they smell amazing. Some black-eyed Susans coming up. My peonies, which is going to have lots of blooms this year, and I tried using this structure to help kind of hold it up a bit, and I can kind of clip those flower heads to it when they start mopping over. Well, it looks like we've got a clover that's been allowed to run a little amok, so I'm gonna have to get after that later. So these are my red hot pokers that also didn't fare very well. This area used to be completely full of these, but fortunately it looks like we've got some that survived, and they spread pretty quickly, so hopefully they'll fill back in over there. Got a couple of pots of pansies. And my other red hot poker that I thought was a goner, but it's doing okay. This area is my biggest creeping Jenny area, and I have to get in there because you can see it's trying to overtake the vinca. So I'll go in there and just pull it out of there. And this is my biggest apple tree. It is a tri-apple tree. It has 3 apple varieties. We have passion flower plant, some artichokes that I grew from the seeds I had from mine. And these are yucca plants. I like them. If they bloom, they look really pretty. The neighbor planted raspberries on the other side of the fence. So now we have raspberries. And I ordered some wire because the twine is not quite holding them the way I want them. So when the wire gets here in a week or so, I'll redo the structure. But I just want to try to keep them upright, and also I pull any suckers that wind up heading toward the greenhouse. I'm sure eventually something will wind up in there. It is so beautiful this morning. And you saw my greenhouse when I showed you my comfrey tea. It's not anything too special. I have a grape plant in there, and right now it looks like we're actually going to have some fruit this year. And they're pretty good. They're little champagne grapes. They're very small and sweet and tasty. I've got my tomato starts, kohlrabi starts, my climbing beans, and on this side I have some pumpkins. These are seeds from pumpkins that we bought last year at Remlinger's, and one of them is the turban and one of them is the wart pumpkin. I've also got some corn in here that does not look like it's coming up, and something has been getting in here. I think it's a blue jay and getting into the soil, so we may have to try reseeding it. In this pot we have impatiens that are starting to pop up, some more comfrey, lamb's ear, and some more red hot pokers. This group was twice this size last year, and the freeze cut it in half. So in that space we're going to put the climbing beans right there on that structure. And then this is my lavender. It's looking a little sad over here, so I may wind up removing some of the plant, but we'll give it half the summer to show me what it can do. Another euphorbia, horsespurge. I love the colors of this one. I like the red of the leaves. I have a rosemary. And then I have these 2 Chinese redwoods. And what I love about these trees is they are deciduous. And what looks like a needle is actually not like your typical needle structure. They're very, very soft, and they turn just bright golden red, and they all just fall off and the tree looks like it died, but then they just come back every spring, and they are going to be monster trees. They are situated 3.5 feet from the fence because the trunk gets 7 feet around, and the tree can get as tall as 100 to 150 feet. But I absolutely love it. My silver fox willow, I need to prune it. I prune it back every year. It's a vigorous grower. Candy tuft, which is starting to phase out. One chive plant back there in the dark, but it seems to be thriving. My alliums are starting to bloom, and these are, what are they called? I'll have to think about it and remember. They're something rose, but these all spread. These are babies from a plant that was here, and the plant dies back and then the babies pop up. There is one echinacea, and my Gara, I'm thinking it didn't survive. I've got Gara on each side, and they are not showing any sign of life, so I'm gonna have to pull them and get some new Gara because I really like it right there. I have Virginia creeper on both of my trellises. and they're not quite as invasive here as they are in some states, but you still have to stay on top of them because it will try to crawl across to the house and the neighbor's yard. So I keep them pruned back. Oh, rose campion, that's what that's called. And they're beautiful hot pink blooms. My creeping phlox that I take pieces off of all the time and spread around the yard. More candy tuft and buttercup, one of the things that we fight quite a bit here, and that one got away from me. Look at him. Another allium and lamb's ear, and we've got spiderwort in the back, some gladiolas coming up, black-eyed Susans, my rose, and some more chives. This is my pride and joy, my Euphorbia wolfii. Oh, I can't get too far away because of the sun, but this plant is just a stunner for me every year. And I paired it with this lavender lilac. And a week ago when these lilacs were really fresh, it really looked so pretty with these two colors together. But this plant also self-seeds quite a bit. And we've got babies over here. There's a baby there. And you can just pull them out if you don't want them, but I'm gonna leave them. I like them. Oh gosh, we've got lavender in here, another rose campion for Cynthia, lots of daylilies. These are all daylilies I divided from some plants I have over by the deck, and I moved around over to here. St. John's wort. I cannot remember what I planted. Oh, that's some more spiderwort. That I divided the spiderwort last year and moved it there and there. This is a campanula, and it has little pretty purple flowers. And there's another piece that I divided off of it. We've got lots of daisies. That's my favorite flower. This right here is fireweed, and I'm gonna let it go because I actually like it, but it can be pretty invasive, so we're gonna stay on top of it. This is a false spirea, and what it does is shoots out these beautiful fronds of white flowers that look lacy. I just love them. I've got a little rose there, and some more sedum. And then let's get over here to what used to be just the herb garden, but I've kind of changed my mind on that. I've got some herbs in here, but it's not strictly that. I've got a Weigelia plant, my olive tree. I cannot remember the name of that little flower, but it's beautiful. I picked up some of these salvias at Winco and just popped them in here. I kind of like them there. I've got lemon balm. I've got my lamb's ear and a rose. Sally gave me this maple, and it was in a pot on the deck, and it struggled last year because it just was root bound. So I popped it out and put it here. I don't know if I'm going to keep it here because it gets a lot of sun back here. I might wind up moving it to the Japanese garden. Some more lamb's ears, some more lemon balm, chives, heuchera, my hardy geranium, and a rosemary that is struggling. I've had it for a really long time. And an allium. And that's my walnut tree. I'm hoping that eventually this whole yard will be shaded back here because the house gets hot in the summer. Now, let's go through the Japanese garden. I have this white lilac that Sally gave me when I moved in, and it was just a little seedling, wasn't very big, and look at how big it's gotten. We've got the Spanish bluebells that I did not plant, and they pop up everywhere, and eventually I'm going to move them. The ferns that naturalize on my wooden walkway. We got another variety of fern. I just cut them back, and there's all the little fronds coming up, and these are beautiful. They turn red. This really cool plant this is Williams. We don't know what it's called, but it is rubbery. It's kind of cool, but it's spreading out across the walkway. It's neat. More yucca, some zebra grass, barberry, junipers that are getting a little out of control, and my azaleas. This area is going to be a project. I am going to be putting some maples up against here because this wall really needs some interest. It's just a big gray wall right now, but I think some red, gold, and orange maples along here would look really pretty. And my cement bird bath I got from a place in Seattle that's no longer there. The man that owns it made this mold all by himself, so this is quite unique. There's not a lot like it. And my low-growing Japanese maple. I love this one. I got this one at Flower World a few years back, and I just love the way that it fits in this space. And this is a honeysuckle, and I can't remember the technical name for it, but it's gotten quite large in the space. All right, let's go back through here, and I'll show you around the deck area. Hopefully I've done a good job of not making you all seasick from moving this too much. And there's my deck with that dogwood, one of my favorite things. My Mexican orange, lots of daylilies, and my Lucifer plant that I have in the back, and some more mint. And we don't enjoy the space as much as we would like because we just don't have a lot of privacy, but we're working on it. All right, guys, that's it for my tour of my garden. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope it didn't bore you. If I can think of the names of a couple of the plants I forgot, I will update later on. Oh, I do have one other update. I will show you how this little guy looked yesterday. And I said he looked sad, but he would bounce back. Look at that. He's doing great, and we've got little ones down there at the bottom coming through. So I think by the end of summer, this pot will be pretty full. Still pretty pleased with this whole setup right here. Anyway, have a fabulous morning, and happy Mother's Day to all you mothers.